The college football playoff ranking comes down. The Vols down to number 18. Let me get your thoughts on Tennessee at number 18. That would put them theoretically in a position of making the playoffs. And I think that when you look at Tennessee being number 18, they would have to win out and they would need some help. But if it were a 12-team playoff, they would still be in position to make that move. Would that be good or bad for college football? Because let's face it, Tennessee a couple of times this year hasn't looked great. Does this look like a playoff team to you under a 12-team format, Caleb?
No. And this is what I was talking about on why it shouldn't expand to 12 teams. This is ridiculous. Next year, Tennessee would be in the college football playoff race still, and we'd be paying attention to things. That's absolutely asinine. It kills everything about the spirit of college football. College football is not the NFL. College football is not supposed to be where a 9-7 team squeaks in and goes to win the Super Bowl. College football is the one sport remaining, the one thing we can hold dear in this country, the one sport remaining where you actually have to perform in the regular season at a high level to be able to lay claim to a championship. It's absolutely ridiculous that a 7-3 team who lost all 3 games by double digits, by the way. Tennessee didn't lose any of these games close. It's absolutely ridiculous that next year those type of teams are going to have a chance to go compete for a title. They have no business doing it. This is what I hate about the college football playoff. And for people that try to bring up, so everybody's bringing up to me like the Giants in 2007 going to beat the Patriots. Don't you want something like that? No, I don't want something like that. Okay?
Let me play devil's advocate for real, because you and I do genuinely disagree on this point. If you're a Minnesota Vikings fan, you should disagree with Caleb right now. If you're a Buffalo Bills fan, despite what happened on Monday Night Football, you should be against what Caleb's saying right now. If you're a Houston Texans fan, a Las Vegas Raiders fan, those are all teams that have about 500 records that are battling for wild card spots. It's very similar to what Tennessee would be doing now. Now, I'm not saying anybody at 6-6, Caleb, so don't misconstrue what I'm saying, okay? Nobody at 6-6 should ever be in the playoffs. But I got no problem with an 8-4 team sneaking in. I've got even less of a problem with a 9-3 team being an annual part of the playoff. And I think that's going to happen. I think you're going to have a 9-3 team, at least one, each and every year make the playoff. And I'm all bully about that, because teams like Tennessee would still have something to play for. If they upset Georgia and beat Vanderbilt, they would make the college football playoff. They would. And why not have more optimism for more programs out there? That just makes the sport bigger. So think about your retort to that, because I know you completely disagree with me. As I remind you, the Rick Terry Jewelry Design, they want to be your jeweler. Looking for affordable game day jewelry? How about the Fire Opals? A Tennessee tradition. Go to rickterryjewelry.com. Support our sponsors, rickterryjewelry.com. Your retort, Caleb, and why I'm insane in your mind. And I know I am.
My retort actually comes straight from the message boards, and it's the top quote. Rocky Top Tom, I love you. We disagree all the time. You nailed it. The distribution of talent in the NFL, as right. Dave, put the quote up. Just put it up. Just put that message up.
I'll put it up.
The distribution of talent in NFL isn't even close to comparable at the college level. Exactly. In the NFL, the team with the best record and the team that squeaks into the playoffs as a wild card, the margin is about that thin because there's so much parity in the NFL. The margin between the 12th team in the college football playoff and the number 1 team in the college football playoff is wider than the number 1 team in the NFL and the worst team in NFL history. Okay? It's absolutely ridiculous. And you're not going to get March Madness. You're going to get 12 get in there and get blown out. All you do is devalue the regular season, and you're going to hit a point. It's going to spike college football popularity for about 10 years. That's what's going to happen. But the long-term prospects of this is fans will start saying, I don't really care if you think it's going to include more teams and include more fans. Those fans will eventually be like, I don't care if my team gets into the college football playoff because we're going to get the brakes beat off us anyway by the Alabamas or the Georgias. It is asinine.
Okay,
A 7-3 team that lost 3 games by double digits should never have a chance at the playoff.
Here's why I disagree. Because I think the talent differential is going to close. The talent gap is going to close with NIL money. I was looking at the top NIL schools, and you would be surprised at some of the schools that are out there. So you're going to have, for instance, Ole Miss is considered by On3 as being a top 10 school in NIL and the way they run things. So those rankings tell me that schools are doing things the right way in NIL. You also have the transfer portal, so a guy like Joe Burrow doesn't get stuck behind another quarterback for the rest of his career. So what I think you're going to see, Caleb, now, if the future of college football is what you say and there's still this huge differential, then I'll be dead bleep wrong in 3 years, okay? But I think you're going to see the talent gap be a little bit closer. I don't think that Georgia's best team moving forward will be as good as Alabama's best team during their dynasty because of NIL and because of transfer portal. That being said, I think you could see some upsets in the playoffs, even though football is the most difficult sport to upset anybody. I think you would agree with that.
By far.
And I think you're going to see some upsets. I think you're going to see some close games in that first round, the way they have it set up in the top 4, get the bye. I think it's fantastic. I love it. And I have no problem with somebody that goes through the SEC and ends the season at 9-3 having a shot at winning a national championship. I got no problem.
So let's just get rid of the rivalry games. Let's just throw them all out. We know who the 4 or 5 best teams in the SEC are. Let's not have the regular season. Let's just put them in the playoff. Let's just start it now. Why not? Why not go to 64 teams and start the playoff in October? Why don't we? Okay, why not go to 120? Just put everybody in. What's the point of the regular season? Okay, this is going to be, I told you guys, if you guys are NASCAR fans, this is going to be NASCAR. Okay, NASCAR ruined itself with the Chase Cup that they started in 2004. They thought they could compete with the NFL on Sundays. Instead, all they did was they devalued the Daytona 500 because the Daytona carries no weight anymore.
Yeah, and the message board saying, "Why is Caleb so mad?" He's not mad. He's just enthused. I would tell you this. I think that NASCAR made a bunch of mistakes, but one, you're clearly right. They tried to shift their audience, and that's difficult to do. But right now in December, you've got a vast wasteland other than the NFL that people are going to watch. So I don't think that's as much of an issue. I think the chase for the championship was stupid, but I also think regionalism was a big factor in why NASCAR got hurt. Yeah, again, you're absolutely right. If the talent gap is as significant as it has been, in the history of college football, I'm saying that I think that they're going to be a huge glacial shift in college football. If I'm wrong in 3 years, then you're going to see a bunch of playoff blowouts, which would stink. Now, the one Achilles heel to my argument that you haven't pointed out, and I thought you would just then, I love the conference championship games. I love covering those. I think they're fantastic. I think it's important to win the SEC, but those ain't much more than a hill of beans 3 or 4 years down the line if you've got a 12-team playoff.
Yes.
That's my weakness to my argument.
Very good point. What it actually does more than anything, so if it still actually will, because of the getting the first round bye, there is going to be some incentive to win the conference championship game. But here's going to be the question, and this is actually crazy if you think about it. Do you try to win the conference championship game for a first round bye? Or do you just decide to not play hard in the conference championship game at all so you don't exude so much energy in case you don't get the first round bye because you don't want to have to play hard that week and then play hard a week right after that in the playoff? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I also like the battling for home field. Okay, let me ask you this. 12-team playoff or 8 that is all bowl games. Which would you prefer?
12-team or 8-team playoff that is all bowl games?
Right. No home field advantage. Because I think that's what makes it special. Everybody has something to play for, no matter if you're 15th or you're 6th in the final.
What I like, this is going to be, people hate this, but I would like more auto bids for conference champions. Now, I get it. The conference champions are not the same. The SEC champion and the AAC champion, not even ACC, are not the same. but it gives it still creates a theater. So my solution was always, I love an 18 playoff because here's what I like: the 5 Power 5 champs get automatic bids. The 5, or I guess it would be now 4. Okay, but whatever. So let's just assume it was 5. My goal was always the 5 Power 5 champs get automatic bids. The best team in the group of 5, that undefeated, like James Madison or whatever, the best of all the group of 5 teams, they get an auto bid. That's 6 auto bids. Then you have 2 wild card bids. That makes the regular season still matter a lot. You can have the playoff, and it still means like every time you lose could be the end for you. That's the way I want to do it. But when you have 6 at-large bids, by the way, also you're having to reach for 6 auto bids because there's only going to be 4 conferences that are good next year. And you're going to have 6 conference championships get in. So you're going to have like the AAC and the Mountain West get in.
Let me throw this at you. Here's the way I would do it. I would have a BCS formula that takes out all bias, that takes out all politicking, and it would be simply a BCS formula 1 to 12. There might be some years where the ACC gets 5 teams in, or the SEC gets 5 teams in, or the Big Ten gets 5 teams in. I got no problem with that. I would just slate them 1 to 12. Your thoughts on that? Sports Treasures, carrying over 5 million sports treasures there in North Knoxville, and so much more. Follow on Facebook for the best sports memorabilia, daily updates. Go to Sports Treasures TN, Sports Treasures TN on Facebook. What would you think about that? Take away all the bias. You and I could create a formula based off strength of schedule, wins, losses. We could do that in a long weekend. We could do that over Thanksgiving if we wanted to, Caleb. It's not that difficult. So what would you think of that? Would that help or hurt your hate for the college football playoff?
It would actually hurt it if you. I mean, it would increase my hate of the college football playoff, because if you don't have auto bids, you're just saying the top 12. Oh my gosh, then you are like, it's like the regular season means even less now. At least factoring in the conference champion auto bids, the regular season has a huge impact on the conference champions. So
just for the record,
I'm actually with Rocky Top Tom again, by the way. We are seeing eye to eye.
Oh no.
What he's suggesting is a +1, which I thought before even the BCS started, they should have done a +1, which is you just rank the teams after the bowl games and the top 2 playing a national title. Just go back to all the old bowl tie-ins, all the historic bowl tie-ins, and then that's like an extra game, and then just rank them after that, and the top 2 play for the title.
Okay, so if they did it, the old BCS rankings, Tennessee would be 20 for the record. The top 8 would be in this order: Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Washington, Florida State, Alabama, Oregon. Texas would be your top 8, followed by Louisville, Penn State, Missouri at 11 with the current rankings. Ole Miss would be at 12. So you'd have all kinds of drama in the SEC. I love you.
Oh, yeah, because, Ole Miss really showed they can give Georgia some drama.
I love you to death. Message board and Caleb, but what are you guys talking about? I just created the most awesome thing ever. Purely BCS. Don't worry about that other stuff.